Welcome to another episode of Personal Study Insights. This week we study Doctrine and Covenants section 2 in Joseph Smith History, chapter 1, verse 27 to 65. I am Monique Kwamaka and today I'm here with
Renata.
So join us as we delve deeper into the scriptures and share some wonderful insights that we obtained as we study this week. I will begin with a few of the insights I gathered from the readings. And so I'll begin with the history, Joseph Smith History, chapter 1, verse 27 to 65. And I would like to start with the fact that the prophet was a young boy when all of these things were happening. He was human. And from the time that he received the first vision to the time that he received the plagues, quite a lot had happened. He had fallen into diverse temptations. From his record, he said, this is not for us to imagine that he did something grievous or extremely gruesome, but then he had been befallen with the usual temptation that young people go through behind. So he wasn't that innocent. But then he also had the desire to approach his father in heaven. And as young as he was, I appreciate the fact that he knew he had to attain some level of worthiness. Of course, he didn't have to be perfect, but then he had that knowledge that before he went to his father in heaven, he had to be spiritually prepared and make sure that his life was in shape before he would go talk to his heavenly father. There's a popular saying that the unexamined life is not worth living. And I feel as human beings, as young people, as old people, it is important that regularly we take stock of our life, see how we stand in the presence of our God and try to make things better before we approach our Father in heaven. Of course, He knows we are not perfect and we are striving, but once in a while it's important that we take stock of our lives, examine the things that we are doing, and know that we are in good standing. In the church, we have the opportunity to partake of the sacrament every week. It is something we can use to check ourselves if we are on the right path. We also have, for those of us who have been endowed and are allowed to enter the temple, we have our recommend. You don't get it by chance. You have to satisfy some level of worthiness before you hold the temple recommend. And all of these are things that the Lord has given us to help examine our lives before we approach Him. I feel when we do that, we are easily able to approach His God with confidence, and whatever answers and messages He has for us, He would willingly give them to us. So this is one of the insights I got from the prophet's experience.
Also, the insights I also got from the prophet's experience, as Steve said, was the fact that even though he had seen an angel, even though he had seen God the Father and the Son, even though he had had this spiritual encounter, he still fell short, and he still fell into the weakness of his human side, where he engaged in certain things that we all engage in. But he didn't let that prevent him from going back to our Heavenly Father. He didn't think that he is not worthy enough to seek for forgiveness. He still went down on his knees and asked for forgiveness. And it was through that prayer, it was through him seeking, that led to an angel appearing to him to tell him the next course of action. So let's just imagine if he hadn't gone down on his knees to pray, what would have happened? Probably the Lord would have found another way to manifest his word, but this way I feel was the perfect way for Prophet Joseph Smith, and he executed it.
Yes. And what struck me as well was the fact that he didn't really have a support system, right? Because there are certain things that create a condition that can keep you away from temptation and from sin. And in his case, he had been told not to go to any of the churches, so he wasn't really feeding his spirit through fellowshipping. I'm sure he was still reading the scriptures, but he didn't have a lot of friends, or maybe good friends. And at the same time, he was young. So you put all of those things together, and it even increases the chances of him giving in to the natural man tendencies. But despite all of that, God still was ready to work with him. And that was the learning that God can work with imperfect people. We don't need to be saints and holy, perfect to actually have him use us to do his work. But if we are willing to go to him for forgiveness, then he can help us become better. And you see that, and he went through that preparation so that he can become the person that God would have him be to do the work he had. And the last thing for me was also the part in verse 29 of Joseph Smith History 1, where he said people had been quick to condemn him. And I was just thinking about our local leaders, the people that we see, sometimes our bishops, our stake presidents, we work with them in the same office, we go and participate in other activities outside of church with them. And because of how closely we work with them, we see so much of their weaknesses and we are quick to judge. And in his case, the condemnation they were given pushed him to God. But in some cases, it does more harm than good. And I really was prompted to be more kind, more understanding, not to condone wrong action, but to see that we are all humans. And God will call us for a reason, even if we are not perfect. And so we need to support them and rather pray to help them. Because as he said, the people who were supposed to help him were not helping. They were just quick to judge him.
All right, so these are some of the few insights we gathered from the first part of the prophet's experience. We will delve deeper in the subsequent segments, and we hope that you join us on those episodes and we get interactive in the comment section as well. We hope to see you in the next episode.
Bye.